Uno, dos, tres. Go Bruce! Go Sashi! Go Yuri, go! Where's Brianna? Sit down.
Good boy.
Okay, stand up. Levántate.
They're so small. All right, so we just wanted to give y'all a glimpse of what they're going to be talking about. But like I said, we got to hear, this is Scott and Tracy, we got to hear some of their testimony yesterday in staff meeting, and it was just really impactful to me about their radical obedience, their faithfulness through trials, and just their willingness to live out what Jesus called us to do, to walk this earth, not to be served, but to serve. And so I'm just super excited for y'all to hear some of their story tonight. And I hope that you're encouraged, you're challenged, and maybe even excited to figure out how you can jump in, which we'll talk later about that. But first, would y'all open up by just introducing yourselves and telling us why you felt called to go to Peru, share some of your story with that, and then why your ministry is called Tat's Place.
You want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Yeah,
Oh, I don't think you're on.
there, this one works. Good. We'd been doing ministry with our home church in Canada, different marriage courses. We came to know the Lord through the Alpha program, actually, at our home church. Our daughter was really active in youth group and camp ministry in the summers, and she had an opportunity to go to Haiti in the summer, or the March break 2014. But just prior to that, I had been working in Cuba for a few years. We had our own business, so I could take time off, and I would travel down to Cuba every 3 to 6 months, and we'd done some some pastoral care and some feeding programs, built some churches, and I all along my walk, I'd always felt called to missions. I just didn't have the opportunity. In January of 2014, the organization we were with had a children's home in Puerto Maldonado, Peru. It's in southeastern Peru. Close. The director, he was done. So I had suggested to Tracy that maybe we could, move and just leave and go to open that home. And of course, that wasn't on her plan. She'd already told God she wasn't going to be a missionary or a homeschooler or anything. So her testimony is tell God what you're not going to do to find out what you're going to do. So I didn't. We had a really big fight about it, and so I didn't bring it up at all. After 3 months, I just kept praying. If it was your will, Lord, just let us know. And so Tad had traveled to Haiti in March of 2014. Yeah, Tad's our oldest daughter. Sorry, second baby. She was just broken in Haiti for marginalized children, and so she came home, and she was our smart kid. She was a scholar, so we figured university for sure. And she just said, "That's." She said that that's it. As soon as high school's done, I'm going to find somewhere to serve, and she's out of here. So, Tracy didn't want to leave someone behind, and now she's leaving. So we figured, as a family, that maybe we should just look at it together. And again, I hadn't said anything for 3 months, and I think we were driving somewhere, and Tracy just looked at me and said, if we're ever even going to consider this Peru thing, maybe we should go talk to the board. And I figured it was a total Holy Spirit moment because I hadn't mentioned it again. So we met with the board that week. A couple of days we went down for lunch and just approached them and some plans, and they suggested that we go visit. So the next week we flew to Puerto Maldonado. We visited the home. Came back, we really felt that it was really opening up for us, and we came back home. We sat the kids down and said, this is what we're thinking. And of course, they're all in. Jackson, our youngest, was 6. Caleb was 10, 12, and Tat was 17. So we decided that...
but tell them what Tat told you.
Oh, yeah. So Tat had mentioned to us that, when we were kind of trying to figure it out, she said, if we don't go look after those children, who will? And that was kind of a pivotal moment for her, pushing us towards that opportunity. And so we figured we wanted to go fast. We didn't really need to raise money. God had blessed us with a successful business, and we just had to sell everything and shut down some contracts. And so the doors were really opening.
I tried to close them.
She was praying for them to close, yes. Tad had started her last year of high school that September, and we'd set a date to go in October, but Tad wasn't going to come with us. She was going to finish that first semester. In Canada, you have to do 6 university credits in your final year of high school in order to get entrance into university. So that was her plan, and she would do 2 online in the new year. So I was a masonry contractor, and I had a contract that was going on. The second phase was supposed to be done about a month before our flights were booked, so I figured that would be all wrapped up. But in late August, I went to a site meeting, and they told me that second phase wasn't going to start until after we had booked our flights. So I figured, okay, that might be a door closing. So I just prayed about that on the way home from work that night, and that night I got a call from a contract that we traded off work over the years, and he said, hey, my fall's a little light, have you got anything? So clearly God was taking care of all the details that we needed, so he took that job over for me. I actually left with the contract still open, and he finished it, and we were able to leave for Peru actually this week in 2014.
What he forgot to tell you was about 2 weeks before we were about to leave, we had made a place for Tat. She's about your age at this time. We had found a place for Tat to live. We found a car for her. We had enrolled her in all her classes. She was going to stay in Canada while we left and went to Peru. And 2 weeks before we left, we found her in the kitchen one morning, and she was crying. And she never cried about silly things. And we said, what's the matter? And she says, I don't want you to go without me. I want to come with you. And so we talked about it and prayed about it, and we went to her high school, and we literally made her a high school dropout at the time because she had to, leave in the middle of a semester, and they were very encouraging about it, and she she was committed to doing school online. And so within those 2 weeks before we left, we got her out of school, found her a plane ticket, sold a car, got rid of all her furniture, and then on October 14th, all of us left for Peru. Thankfully, Tatiana had some Spanish. She had taken Spanish in high school, so she was really super important to us when we got there. Scott and I had tried to take some Spanish lessons, and when you're not in it, you never use it. So it was really difficult for us, but she had had the language, so it was really a blessing to have her there with us. So God orchestrated that so that she would be there with us. And so for the first year and a half,
for about a year and a half, we tried to learn language, which wasn't good. Don't try and learn a language when you're 50. It's not easy. Get language before you go. We went no language. Boys had no language. Tracy and I had no language. Tat had a little bit. We didn't know what the culture was. We were in secluded jungle, South Peru, right? Southern Amazon. There's not many people that speak English. There was no internet at the house. It was like a major life change. But the Lord works all that out. I had got injured one time, and we went in, and the doctor started speaking to me in English, which was, that's how he showed up. He just kept giving us those easy ways out of difficult situations the whole time.
So now we're about 2 years in, and we've decided that we fixed up the house. It had been in the jungle, closed, nobody lived there, so the animals had taken over, the bugs had taken over, and so we took about a year and a half to do language and fix the house up, and we were finally ready to take kids. So we started taking kids in 2016, and we literally worked 24/7, 7 days a week, until about 2017. We had been through some really rough stuff in 2017. When you're in a different country, there's such different cultures and different things that motivate people, and there was a lot of spiritual warfare, and that was really difficult for us. Here in America, we don't talk about that very much. We don't talk about spiritual warfare and what Satan will use against you, and in some third world countries, it's literally their life. And so we saw a lot of dark things, and it was a lot of work, and at that point, I think we'd been through 20 kids, maybe.
Yeah, we had some really difficult cases. We had some kids that had been really abused badly, and we weren't totally prepared for that depth, I don't think. And
so by the end
really
of 2017, I was pretty much burnt out. We had worked every day, all day, and I was pretty much burnt out, and we had a lot of kind of personal issues with some people, and the organization that we worked for could see that I was, having difficulty, and there was a lot of things they were starting to demand of us that it wasn't an agreement in the beginning when we signed our contract, and things just weren't going as well as we had hoped. And in 2018, the beginning of 2018, they forced us on a furlough. So a furlough is when you leave your missionary country and you go back to your passport country, and you're supposed to rest and take a break. We didn't want to go. We were in the middle of adoption. One of the girls you saw there, we had been trying to adopt. And so we were right in the middle of an adoption. We didn't want to leave in case that would affect our case. Anyway, we didn't have a choice. If we didn't go, they were going to, not pay us or whatever, or send support. So we left, and we were in Canada for 3 weeks, and we went to a meeting, and they fired us. And so everything we owned, everything we had was in Peru. All my kiddos that we take care of were in Peru in a home waiting for us to come home, and we got fired. It was devastating. We kind of lost, we lost our confidence. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were going to do next. And Tatiana, our daughter, was already in college, and so we went and visited her, and she's like, well, you just got to go back and find something else to do. God's going to use you. And so it was really difficult to come back. We came back with the hope that God would show us what to do next. And we came back. We lived in a hotel for...
Yeah, we were homeless.
I don't know how long we were homeless.
We had made an agreement with our organization that they would give us time to go to the home. Of course, we weren't allowed to see the kids and whatnot, and we were able to get our things out. And we found another place to live, which is a good place. But what we really wanted to do was just seek God's will again, to make sure that we were still supposed to be where He'd sent us. So we just spent that 3 months just looking for opportunity. You normally, to open an association, an NGO such as ours in Peru, it's about a 1.5 to 2 year process. The people that we had worked for with at the government really liked us. They liked our family style of home, and there wasn't too many like that where we were, and they couldn't afford to have another home closed. So we were extended so much grace, and we had a new association open in 3 months. So we figured that was, we saw that as God, again, opening doors for us to just stay there. His favor, His grace just kept us there. So in July, and we also at this time had to find another organization. And our home church in Canada, they were really pushing us to go to a larger organization, but we didn't really qualify for a larger organization because we're not Bible college trained. We don't have 4 years of this and 4 years of that. And so we didn't line up to their sort of requirements to be their field missionaries. So we ended up finding July 1st, we signed with a new organization. It was called Missionary Adventures Canada. Now it's called Impact Hope. That's our current organization. We were really...
You want me to go?
Yeah, I'll give you in a second. We were really excited because, for 4 months, all our supporters stayed with us. Vista actually wrote us a letter, said, hey, we don't know all the details, we don't know what's going on, but we're behind you 100%. And they didn't ask any questions, they just trusted. So July 1st, we signed the new org. We got the new association open, and we're on this great mountaintop. Okay, everything's going good. We've got a great place to live. We started looking at, we had a private girl that had come to us for care, and we were looking at how we were going to start taking more kids.
I'll take over because this is where he gets emotional. What we didn't tell you in that year, 2018, our daughter, who was in her second year of college, so same age as you guys, she met the love of her life, and they started spending a lot of time together. They had made the decision about 3 or 4 months in that they were going to spend the rest of their lives together and work towards being, getting engaged, getting married, and having a life together. They'd been dating, and it has been wonderful, and Matt had come down and visited us. They came for Christmas in 2017, and we had a great time meeting him. And when we were home on furlough, we got to spend some time with him. So the minute we saw them together, we knew that they were the ones for each other. So in May of 2018, they started talking about getting married. They knew they were going to get married. They just didn't know, when or where. Another month of talking about wedding plans and stuff. They decided that they were going to come to Peru and get married because we couldn't leave the country again because we were able to get our daughter back that we were trying to adopt. And so in that process, we knew we couldn't leave the country. And Tat didn't want to get married without us, so she told Matt, basically, we're going to Peru and we're going to get married. And so we were on, again, this high. We found a new organization. Our daughter was getting married. They were coming to Peru. Everything was wonderful.
And when Tat finished her BA, they were going to move to Peru full-time and take over our work as directors.
Right. So that gets us to July, back to July, where we're with our organization. We agree we're going to start taking more children. We have one girl private. And on August 17th, we got a phone call that Tatiana had died in a car accident. Her and her fiance had gone out west Canada for an engagement trip. They were engaged in their minds, and everybody knew they were getting married, but he had never given her ring. And he wanted to take her. He was from Saskatchewan, which is in the prairies of Canada, and he wanted to take her to his family homestead and propose to her there because that's what his father did and his father and so on and so forth. So they went on a 2-week trip across Canada to meet his family and his friends. They had to do worship at their church on the following Sunday, so they decided to cut down through Wisconsin to come up back through Sarnia, right? Yeah. Sarnia to come home. The weather was really bad in Wisconsin. It was raining. The highway was really busy, and they were involved in a car accident, and her and her dog passed away in the accident immediately. Matthew survived with literally 2 scratches, one on his head and one on his finger. God literally wrapped himself around him and protected him. There wasn't a part of the car that wasn't damaged except for the part where Matthew was sitting. He wished he had died. He woke up in the hospital to realize that Tad had been killed instantly. He didn't get a chance to say goodbye. He didn't get a chance to do anything. So we were in Peru. His family is in Edmonton and Saskatchewan and Alaska, and he's stuck in Wisconsin alone in the hospital. So in this time, he managed to get some of his family down, and so we had to call our brand new organization that just signed us on July 1st and said, we need to bug out to Canada because our daughter died. And they were instrumental in finding us flights immediately. They got us home within 2 days. We still didn't get to see Tat yet. Because she had died in the United States, we had to wait for her to be brought back to Canada, but we were able to get to Matt. And so we were together, and we were able to, finally get Tat to Canada with us and able to plan her funeral instead of a wedding. They had booked the date, and it was going to be October 22nd, which is this coming Sunday. So she literally died 8 weeks before her wedding. So that was tough. We had to call everybody and say, okay, you're not coming for a wedding anymore, you're now coming for a funeral. And Vista, I get emotional thinking about it, but Vista stepped right up. Vista sent people from here all the way to Canada to be with us so that we didn't have to be alone. And they helped us through it. And, we just had such a support group from people around us that it was a beautiful thing. I mean, for as tragic as it was. So after that, we had to decide again, okay, God, what are you doing? We're here working for you. We're doing this for you. And now this has happened. And so 2018 was not our best year.
No, not long after we returned to Peru, about 3 months in Canada, and 8 days after we got back, my mom had a major stroke and I had to go back to Canada, spend a week with her in palliative care, and she passed away. They stayed in Peru for a little bit, came up after the wedding, because we actually had people that were traveling for the wedding. They didn't want to cancel their flight, so they actually came down to be with Tracy and the boys and Matt through that wedding time.
Yeah, our son-in-law moved back to Peru. We call him our son-in-law, even though they didn't officially get married. But
he actually came back.
He came back to Peru with us and lived with us for a while. Yeah.
So after that, we got back to Peru at the end of November. We just told our organization, listen, we just need some time. We need time to process, and when you have so many mountains and valleys in a short time, you really questioning God's plan. I mean, when Tat died, we were mad at God. I mean, to be truthful, I didn't want to talk to him. So you go through all these things, but at the same time, he's still going to reveal his plan. And his plan was for us to stay in Peru. We got pushed by our good friends here later on that year. December went by, November, January. Our good friends kept calling us, when are you buying property, when are you buying property, to build Tat's place.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go. Sorry.
So again, people from Vista were very instrumental, and they may or may not be in the room, to build a property. And our organization as well encouraged us to build a foundation in Tat's name. And so that's why we've named our home Tat's Place. And all our kids are called Tat's Kids. So we run it in her memory and her spirit of what she wanted to do. She always wanted to work with kids in an orphanage. She wanted to love on them and give them a family. And so that's what we do. We don't run our home as we don't run our home as an institution. We run our home as a family. And it's difficult. It's taxing, and it takes every ounce of energy we have, but we want them to know that it is possible for them to have a family, to have people who love them, even though they're not related. We have no blood ties to them, but we're literally their mom and dad, and they just need someone to love them. And so we've done this in her memory, so that's why it's called Tat's Place. You'll see, we have all her logos and everything around it. And we have her picture up everywhere, and all the kids know who she is, and so we just keep working to honor her and to keep her dream alive. I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for her, I could crawl into a hole and just give up. But I know that if I ever got to heaven and I didn't do what she wanted me to do, she'd be pretty mad at me right now. So we just keep pushing on for her. So our home now is 7,000.
Yeah, we have a 25-acre property, two 12.5-acre parcels, and we have about a 7,000 square foot home. Garage. We have a bit of a farm, hobby farm. Our kids, the kid demographic that we get, every case is different, but our youngest child, 12 hours old, we had a baby. We've taken preemies, 3 pounds, twin babies, and as old as 21. We're not an age-out home. The system says 18, you're done. But we'll keep them at the home. We'll offer them to help them with post-secondary education or career training, so that they can stay or work at the home. In fact, the girl that runs the home for us now graduated our home last year. She's actually studying psychology virtually to Tiffin University in Ohio, a BA in psychology there. We just took a 21-year-old girl in that had been trafficked, and so it's every case is different, and we're actually showing grace to be able to take all the ages, because typically when you open a home in Peru, you have to pick a demographic, so it can be baby to 6. 7 to tween or teenagers. You have to, and it has to be girls or boys, not mixed. So we're allowed to take any age or any gender. So we don't take older boys. We've had before, but it's logistically it's impossible with hormones running all over the place. So it's hard. So we tend to focus on girls. So, yeah.
What's making y'all most excited about what you're doing right now?
I think just seeing. We don't spend too much time in the past. I mean, we find out their history just because we know we have to know how to help them. So we have to read the case file and we have to see where they're coming from. And some are really simple. Some are babies that have no problems at all because their mom just walked out of the hospital after they birthed them and they don't really know what's going on. And then you get older girls that understand what happened to them. So they're more psychology work with them with a clinic in town, and we have to help them in different ways. So every case is different, but the exciting part is watching the kids just grow and flourish and be kids. You know, normally when you have a child that's been abused, they've missed a part of their childhood, whether they were 8 years old or 10 years old or 16 years old. That part of their childhood, that significant piece of their childhood was missed, you know. So we have girls that come in that are 14, 15, and they want to play with Barbies because when they were at Barbie age, they were being abused and they missed all that. So it's really neat seeing them, you know, just have a normal life, go to sleep and not have to worry that somebody's going to walk into their bedroom and bother them, and let them be able to get up and go to school and have a normal life. And that's the joy when you don't worry about the past and you look to the future and you just see Jesus lift them out of the pit. And
Yeah, for me, I would say the same thing. I mean, to see a little kid who's 4 or 5 just laugh his head off, or, you know, just find something so humorous, you know, and just be able to laugh and have no fear, for me is the biggest joy. Just hearing them laugh for me is great. Another thing that I love is, in most of our cases, everyone has a mom. I know everybody has a mom and dad. We all know that, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, everybody has an active or semi-active mother in their life. It could be bad or good, you know, it could be good, it could be bad. They all have a mother. Most of them don't have a father. And so in our home, Scott is adored by everyone, and they just want to call him Papa, and they just want hugs from a dad who's not going to hurt them, or a dad who's not going to hug them inappropriately, or, you know, just have that bond. For him to tuck a little girl in bed and she says, "Good night, Daddy, I love you," in Spanish, like, that to me is, it's just so freeing, right? That they feel safe enough to do that. And so we do have 2 younger boys, and they do tend to gravitate more towards me because I'm the mother figure. But to see the girls connect with Scott and have a dad and learn what a healthy relationship is with your father is such a beautiful thing. We still have girls that have, in the past 6 years, we've taken care of 85 kids. In our home right now, we have 18, I think. And they still come back, even when they've grown up and they leave. We still get phone calls all the time, you know, "Mom and Dad, I'm in trouble," or "Mom and Dad, I don't know what to do about this." They still call us Mom and Dad. They still introduce us as their parents, and they want our opinion, you know. Just like you guys are all growing up and you're trying to separate from your families, your parents still want to be involved. They just don't want to overstep that, right? So when you guys all leave your home and you go do your own thing, there's nothing more beautiful to your parents if you call one day and say, "What's your advice on this?" Or, "What would you do in this situation?" You know, because that's what we raise you guys for. We raise you to go out and do your own thing, and we hope that everything we've taught you has sunk in a little bit and that you're going to use that in your life, right? But to always need your parents, I think, is such a beautiful gift that God gives us. You know, our kids grow up, but you're still our kids. And so we see that happen often. A lot of kids come back, they come to visit, they help pour into the kids in our home. And so it just keeps continuing, and then we can expand that family.
Y'all's story's just so cool. I'm amazed by y'all's faithfulness. So we have lots of college students here who are trying to discern where God's calling them next, and how would you encourage them in this season?
Yeah, you know, when I was a newer Christian, I had a conversation with my senior pastor once, and I used to get so excited when missionaries would come back from short-term trips, and I had done some short-term trips, and hear their report and just get excited. And you know, we had one young girl. She actually led a team into North Korea, And it was a Sunday night at church, and the church is kind of sitting there, and they're kind of listening, but they're not. There's some side conversations going on. And this girl's telling, she's 23 years old, and she led a team of 5 in North Korea. That's a pretty big deal. And got out, like came out of North Korea unharmed. And I interrupted and I said, people, you need to listen to what she's saying. She's a 23-year-old single girl, led a team of Christian missionaries, evangelists into North Korea. Like, people, you don't understand the magnitude of that. And so that's the kind of excitement I got when I heard about missions and stuff. And I always said to my senior pastor, I had a conversation one night, I said, how do you know when God is leading you somewhere? How do you know? And he said, you have to look for open doors, and you have to look for positive affirmation, and it has to feel good. So when we were getting ready for Peru, or anytime I was trying to get to Cuba, the doors would open, and there'd be finances that would be provided, and things that you needed, and time off work, and in Peru is that same way. The door, I had to sell 2 houses, close down a business, sell a lifetime of stuff, prepare my family with 3 children to go to South America, and we didn't speak Spanish. It was a pretty big deal, but God just made that way easy. I know that it's going to be tough once you hit the field. There's going to be, our 2018, we can just write it off. It was the worst year of our life. But through all that, through God's faithfulness to that, He still opened doors, and He still gave us path, and He still positively affirmed that we're to be in Peru doing what He called us to do. So, you look for those things. I love the book of James, because all through it is just about, trials and obedience and care for orphans and widows, and it's just, it's people want to look at Romans and Acts for missionaries books, but I love James, and it just tells us everything that we're going to face, and obedience, and His promises to us that He's going to be faithful to us. So you really to look for that, what's that look like? And young people, I wasn't in this position as an older person, but I'm sure as a younger person, your parents don't really want you raising their grandkids 6,000 miles away. So you would have that pressure too, and I know I've seen that in my own church where kids were fired up for missions, and their parents just squashed it because they didn't want to have to miss their grandkids.
I think I would say to you guys, don't underestimate what you can do even at your age. Like we said, Tat from the age of 17 encouraged us to keep doing what we're doing, and she knew her focus, and she knew what she wanted, and she stuck by it. And sometimes you're going to rattle feathers, and sometimes you're going to ruffle feathers, not rattle feathers, ruffle feathers. But never underestimate what you can do. Even if you do want to go on a mission trip, start investigating. Where do you want to go? What can I do? A lot of people think a mission trip has to be an organized event where you're going on a team and you've been invited and you're going to have a certain job and you're going to do certain things. Us as missionaries can tell you, if you just came to my house and held babies and changed diapers or cut the grass for Scott, that would be the biggest blessing. So it doesn't always...
I actually like cutting the grass.
Well, you do, but I'm just trying to get you some free time. Those little things mean a lot to people who are working on the field already. So if you're not sure that you're ready for a big trip, or you can't invest a lot of, energy, time, or whatever, even a small thing, and how are you helping somebody else? The world is throwing at you guys right now that you need to be happy, that you need to be true to yourself, that you need to make yourself happy. And it's all lies. You need to give yourself away, and you need to help other people. That's what's going to make you happy. And it's so countercultural to say that, but the more you give yourself away, the happier you're going to be. Don't get me wrong. There's hard times. There's times I wish, I wasn't in South America, and there's times I'm sure our boys are 15 and 21. They wish that we weren't there. But at the end of the day, when we can go to sleep and know that all those kids are safe. So what I'm trying to say is, don't underestimate what you can do. If you have a dream, if you have a thought, if you have an idea, start working it out with people. How can you help? Where can you get involved? Look up missionaries that are in different places. If you have a specific skill, how can you use that? You don't have to be a church planner. You don't have to be a people saver. You don't have to have specific skills. You can just help. And so I think you guys need to give yourself more credit and believe in yourselves and know that you can make a difference.
what was it like giving up everything to move away? Like, what was that experience like for y'all?
For me, it was freeing, because it's just stuff, and you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse at a funeral. So, it's okay. But now we probably have more stuff where we are now than we ever had in Canada. We rebuilt. We literally went to Peru with 20 hockey bags, and now we have a house full of stuff again. For Tracy, it was difficult because she was attached to things.
Well, it's not that I was attached to things. We had a pretty good life. Like, we owned 2 businesses, right? Like, our kids were all in sports and doing the whole thing that, everybody does in normal life. And I could take a trip whenever I wanted, and I didn't have to stay in the cheapest hotel anymore. I was in a good spot. But I will tell you, Scott and I renovated a home that we loved, and it took years of renovation, and I'm talking years. And literally the day after our renovation was finished, we were both sitting in this kitchen that I designed and thought it was wonderful, and I loved it. And we were drinking our morning coffee and tea, and I just looked at him, and we both just said, okay, now what? Like, I have everything I wanted, but now what? And that was I think that really started opening my eyes to how I could serve other people, because here I'd been selfishly storing all this stuff for myself and building it up. And not that we didn't use our place for other things. I mean, we had Bible studies and we encouraged people to come and we would let people stay with us, and that was great. But for Scott and I, it was more like, okay, now what's next for us? And so I had to let that go. The first year was rough, I'm not going to lie. The first year was rough. When I didn't get my vacation in the winter, I was like, I'm not sure I like this very much. But, over time, it starts to, I wake up some mornings and look, and I'm in the jungle. Like, that's pretty incredible. I have a monkey as a pet. Like, so there's things about it that are just so beautiful. So I think the farther out you get in mission work, the less you remember. Like, the first year, we were always getting people to send us stuff, and we missed stuff we're from Canada. We'd miss stuff from Canada. They would send us stuff, but now we're like, you know what? We can just buy it here, or we just make it.
And I haven't had to shovel snow for 9 years, so I'm pretty happy with
We're
that.
from a very snowy part.
Yeah, we don't know what that's like. Allie might be the only one. Do y'all have any questions for them? Anything you want to know more about? Here, Trey, will you pass?
If someone was to come and serve with you guys, how would we do that? Like, what would be the process of getting in contact with y'all and doing that?
Yeah, so we have lots of information. We're actually in the process of getting some information. We had a really strong, before COVID, we had a really strong intern program. We had a regular intern program where people would come down for 3 to 6 months. But we allow 1 week, a month, 3 months, 6 months. 6 months is the max you can stay in Peru without paying any overstay fines. So it's a good number. 3 months is comfortable for a lot of people. But it's fairly easy. There's some stuff you'd have to take care of. Not mandatory, but you might want to look at some different types of vaccines for yellow fever and stuff like that. Definitely not COVID, it's not a requirement. But a little bit of prep. We have some PDFs and stuff that we work with just to give you a bit of an idea what the culture looks like. We would Zoom you. We'd have a couple Zoom meetings. You'd have to raise some funding, obviously. We don't have the support to pay for everything, but you'd have to help pay for your flight and whatnot. You would stay right in the home with us and just shadow what we do. You gotta like the heat,
Well, you don't have to
which
like
coming
it.
from Texas is probably not a big change.
So yeah, we have some job descriptions on things that you can do. But again, like I said, we've had people come down with their families and just stay in our home. We've had people come individually and just stay with us for a month, 2 months, a week. It varies, but there's, basically there's coming into the house and helping with the kids and helping with the home, being part of the home, and that's male or female. It's not, you don't have to just be female. But there's also opportunity to help with the farm and for, the maintenance and stuff like that. With a house of 18 kids, there's a lot of things that need repairing. There's a lot of paint that needs to be replaced. We probably change light bulbs very often. So there's always something to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to give Sydney the information. We have all the information processed for our Canadian organization, but we're going to make it so that the Americans can apply too. So
Yeah, you wouldn't go through our Canadian
No, we'll get it
organization.
to you.
You'd set up
Yeah.
directly from Vista. And there's other opportunity because Hoops for Hope comes to our jungle every year. In fact, they just came in July. And a couple of years ago, they sent a team, and they brought a construction team to work on Tat's Place, and they brought 2 basketball teams. So we can always piggyback on other teams too. There could be an opportunity where, you could plan a trip next July for a couple of weeks or a week, and a bunch of you could come down and just get a taste of cross-cultural experience and work at the home a bit at the same time that the basketball program's going on in town. We're out of town, we're not in town. So there's multiple different ways we can set things up.
Yeah, so we're looking at getting a trip together to go. Probably the end of July would be the best time if we were to do that. So if you're interested, for sure let me know. But what they're saying is, like, if you as an individual or you and a few friends are interested in going for a week or for a month or for the summer or want to take the semester off, like, that's on the table, and they would love your help.
If you, like me, feel called and kind of restless and you want to do something, we actually have a 5-year plan to have ourselves replaced in the home. So we're actually actively looking for a couple to come down and take over the daily grind, but we know that's a multiple-year process. I mean, we kind of did all on our own, and we would never want anybody to have to go through what we went through to get to the point that you're comfortable. So, we would want to be there for 2 or 3 years to be able to support that new couple that would come in and take over the daily grind from us. I mean, I'm 60 this year, so chasing toddlers around, I love it. It just tires me out. We also have a pregnant woman ministry that we work with, and we actually have 4 in the house right now. 2 pregnant and 1 with a 7-month-old baby, and they're all teens. So that's kind of a bit of an easier work for us because they look after the babies, and we kind of just mother them and father them and adult them and help them, support them. So there's lots of different things types of ministries we can have within the home and how it works. But certainly if you know of someone or you yourself feel like that, hey, reach out to us and talk to us, because we'd love to be able to explore that.
Social media.
We're actually speaking here on Sunday too, and I'll be out here at a table on Sunday. I have some stuff I can give you tonight, some cards if you're not going to be here Sunday, but if you want our information, you can see us on Sunday at the table. Yeah, Blackburns in Peru on Facebook, Scott and Tracy Blackburn, Tat's Place. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Sorry we interrupted your study that you were doing.
We are so glad that y'all got to be here. How can we be praying for you guys?
Yeah, pray for us for this little vacation. This is our first time we got away together in about 4 years. Because of COVID and Peru rules, we didn't want to travel out of the country, both of us at the same time, so we actually took separate trips last year back to Canada. But yeah, just pray for this few weeks we're here, pray for the home, pray for our workers at the home that are taking care of things while we're gone, pray for the kids. They're coming and going, and we never know what's changing. We got a couple fundraisers on. We're trying to raise some money for some new vehicles, so pray for funding and whatnot. And yeah, just normal life stuff.
Well, can I pray for you guys? If y'all feel led to, you can reach your hand out to pray over them as well. God, thank you so much for Scott and Tracy and just your calling on their life. And thank you for their radical obedience that we just get to learn from. God, I pray that would rub off on us, and that we would be eager to be obedient as well to where you're calling us. God, I pray that you would bless their ministry abundantly, financially, and just with people to support and encourage them. God, I pray that you would protect all the kids that are in their home right now, that you would be with their boys, as they just continue to discern the calling on their life. God, I pray that you would raise up a couple to be able to fill these very big shoes, God, and that they would start to just feel that tug on their heart, Lord, and that your will would be done in that handoff process. God, I pray that you would make a way for anyone in this room who's wanting to go help, support, and encourage them to get there and to just get to learn what you're doing in Peru. And God, I'm just so thankful for what you're doing in Scott and Tracy's life. And I pray that we would be faithful in praying for them and supporting them from afar, or getting to go be in the nitty-gritty with them. God, protect them, make your face shine upon them, and give them peace and lots of rest while they're here and while they go to the beach in a few weeks. And we love you in your name. Amen.